I want to start today with a scenario.
Okay, lay it on me.
It's a little dark, but I think it really gets at the heart of why we're here.
The best ones usually are.
Okay, so picture this. A guy at a bar. It's 2 a.m. He's had way, way too much to drink.
We've all seen this guy.
Exactly. Can barely stand up, let alone walk a straight line.
Uh.
But he decides, I'm driving home.
Oh, classic. A recipe for disaster.
You would absolutely think so. He stumbles to his car, fumbles around with the keys for a minute, finally gets the engine started, and pulls out onto the highway.
This is making me nervous just hearing it.
But in this specific scenario, the roads are, for whatever reason, totally empty. He manages to stay in his lane, more or less. He navigates the turns, pulls into his driveway, parks the car perfectly.
It's lucky.
Unbelievably lucky. Walks inside, goes to sleep, wakes up the next morning, no scratch, no ticket, no accident, no injury.
All right, so a terrible decision with a good outcome.
Precisely. Now compare him to a second driver. This person is the designated driver for their friends. Stone cold sober.
The responsible one.
Doing everything right. Follows every traffic law, checks their mirrors, both hands on the wheel. They're driving through a green light at an intersection, and suddenly, bam! They get T-boned by someone else running a red light, their car is totaled, they end up in the hospital with a broken leg.
A tragic situation, but yeah, unfortunately it happens.
So here is the question, though, and this is the uncomfortable part. If we look strictly at the outcomes, just the end result, the drunk driver had a good result. He's safe at home.
Right.
The sober driver had a bad result. They're in the hospital. So if we judge decisions purely by their results, do we have to admit that the drunk driver made the better decision?
Absolutely not. And I can practically feel you cringing just asking that.
It feels wrong to even say it out loud.
That visceral reaction, that giant no that's just screaming in your brain.
Yes.
That is the friction between how we should think and how we actually think. You're highlighting what professionals, what decision scientists call resulting bias.
Resulting bias.
It's our tendency, our default setting, to judge the quality of a decision based solely on its outcome, instead of the process used to make it.
So, because the drunk driver survived, a little part of our brain wants to whisper, well, it worked out, so it couldn't have been that bad of a decision.
Exactly. And because the sober driver crashed, we start looking for fault, don't we? We think, well, maybe they should have looked left one more time, or maybe they were going a little too fast. We try to find a reason in the process to explain the bad outcome.
And we see this everywhere, don't we? It's not just driving.
Everywhere. The stock market is the perfect example. You buy a terrible, risky meme stock with no fundamentals, and it triples in value. You think you're a genius.
Right. I made a good decision.
But you didn't. You made a terrible decision and you got incredibly lucky. Conversely, you can do months of research, buy a solid, well-run company, and then the entire market crashes because of some geopolitical event you could never have predicted. You lose money, so you think.
I made a bad decision.
When in reality, the process was sound. And that is the entire mission of today's deep dive. We're looking at a huge stack of research that suggests human beings are basically walking around with a faulty operating system.
A faulty OS. I like that.
We are wired to crave certainty. We are wired to look at results. But the world isn't certain. The world is, at its core, probabilistic. It's a game of odds, not guarantees.
So we're essentially trying to uninstall our deterministic operating system, the one that thinks A always leads to B, and install a probabilistic one.
That's the goal. We have to stop looking for guarantees and start looking at the odds. This isn't just about dice and coins, It's about the logic of science. It's about being able to quantify your beliefs and, frankly, about engineering luck in your favor.
We have so much to get through.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about how you can use 18th century math to figure out if your partner is cheating.
A fun one.
We're going to look at the secretary problem, which is a mathematical approach to dating. We'll discuss why the military learned to armor the engines of planes that didn't come back.
And we'll get into why being 100% busy is a mathematical disaster for any system, including your own life.
So let's start with the foundation, the North Star of this whole philosophy. Expected value.
EV. If you take nothing else away from this entire conversation, this is the concept. Expected value is the tool that separates amateurs from professionals in any field that involves uncertainty.
Okay, so define it for us. What is it in simple terms?
Simply put, EV is the sum of all possible outcomes, each one weighted by its probability of happening. The classic formula is You take the probability of success and multiply it by the payoff, and then you subtract the probability of failure multiplied by the cost.
It sounds like a math textbook, which I think is what scares people off. They hear that and think, okay, I'm not a gambler. I don't need this in my day-to-day.
But you are a gambler. We all are. Every single time you change lanes in traffic, every time you take a new job, every time you go on a date, you are making a bet against the universe.
You're just not calculating the odds.
You're not writing them down, but the bet is being made. The mantra is, amateurs think in outcomes, professionals think in EV. Over a single decision, luck can dominate. But over a lifetime of decisions, luck cancels out. The only thing that remains is the quality of your process, your average EV.
Let's make this concrete. The example from the research on the safe job versus the startup. I think this hits home for a lot of people trying to make a career choice.
This is a perfect illustration of EV in the wild. Let's take a hypothetical 28-year-old software engineer. She's talented. She has 2 offers on the table.
Okay.
Offer A is from Google. It's prestigious. It's stable. They're offering a guaranteed salary of $300,000 a year.
That's the safe option, a fantastic, hard-to-turn-down option.
Absolutely. Then there is offer B. It's from a brand new seed stage startup that can't possibly match Google's cash. They offer $120,000 in salary.
A huge pay cut.
A huge pay cut. But to sweeten the deal, they offer 0.5% equity, a 0.5% ownership in the company.
And this is where the dreamer in all of us kicks in, right? The naive view. The engineer looks at that 0.5% and immediately starts thinking,
What if?
what if this is the next Uber? What if this is the next Facebook? That 0.5% could be worth 10, 20, $50 million? I'd be an idiot to take the boring Google job.
Right.
Yeah.
They are focusing entirely on the single best possible outcome, the lottery ticket. But a probabilistic thinker doesn't look at the best outcome. They look at the weighted average of all outcomes.
Oh.
So let's actually run the math that the source material provides. We have to put a value on that equity.
How do you even start to do that? How do you put a price tag on a dream?
You break it down into scenarios and probabilities.
Yeah.
So scenario 1, the unicorn. This is the dream. The company becomes a massive success. It exits for, let's say, $10 billion. Your 0.5% stake is now worth $50 million.
Okay, I'm listening. That sounds amazing.
It is. It's life-changing money. But what's the probability of a seed stage startup becoming a $10 billion unicorn? The data is pretty clear on this. It's about 0.01%.
Wow. 1 in 10,000.
1 in 10,000. So highly, highly unlikely.
Okay, what's next?
Scenario 2, a great exit. They sell for $500 million. By any normal standard, a huge success. Your cut in that case is $2.5 million. The probability here is maybe, let's say, 2%.
Still pretty low odds.
Still a long shot. Okay, scenario 3, the acqui-hire. This is a very common outcome. The company kind of struggles, it runs out of cash, and a bigger company like Google or Facebook buys them just for the engineering team.
To get the talent.
Exactly. So maybe they sell for $20 million, but, and this is a huge, but the investors get their money back first. That's called liquidation preference. After they're paid, your common stock as an employee might be worth, say, $100,000.
It's not life-changing.
Not life-changing. And the probability of this kind of middling outcome is around 15%.
Okay, and then there's the last one.
Scenario 4, the most likely one, failure. The company goes to zero, your equity is worth nothing. The probability for a seed stage startup, it's roughly 83%.
So more than 4 out of 5 times, that equity is just worthless paper.
Completely worthless.
Huh?
So now we just do the multiplication. It's the EV formula. We take each outcome and multiply it by its probability.
So $50 million times 0.01%.
Plus 2.5 million times 2%.
Plus 100K times 15%.
And plus 0 times 83%. When you add all those weighted numbers together, do you have any guess what the annual expected value of that equity comes out to?
Well, I'm guessing it's not the $50 million dream. It's got to be a lot lower, maybe a couple $100,000.
It's about $70,000.
70, that's it.
That's the mathematical value of that lottery ticket averaged out over time. So now you can compare the two offers rationally.
The startup, 120K salary plus 70K in equity EV. That's a total of 190K a year.
And Google.
$300, guaranteed.
So strictly by the numbers, Google wins by $110,000 a year. It's not even close. It's a landslide.
The naive view sees a potential jackpot. The EV view sees that you are, statistically speaking, paying $110,000 a year out of your own pocket for a lottery ticket that probably won't pay off.
That's a great way to frame it.
But wait, I have to push back a little here.
Sure.
Because people do take the startup job, and sometimes they do get incredibly rich. Are you saying no one should ever work for a startup?
Not at all. But you have to understand why you're doing it. The math tells us that if you take that startup job, one of two things must be true.
Okay.
One, You have what's called asymmetric information.
Hmm.
You know something the market doesn't. You know the founder is a once-in-a-generation genius, or the technology is a true breakthrough. You genuinely believe the probability of success is way, way higher than the 0.01% average.
So you're betting that you can beat the base rate. You have some kind of inside edge.
Right. Or, and this is just as valid, number two, the utility you get from the job isn't just about the money. Maybe you value the learning experience more than cash. Maybe you want the network, the thrill of building something from scratch. If that fun factor, that learning, is worth more than $110,000 a year to you,
Then take the job.
then take the job. But don't lie to yourself and say you're doing it for the money. Statistically, you aren't.
That distinction between money and utility is really important, isn't it? Because EV is usually calculated in dollars, but we don't live our lives in dollars. We live in, I don't know, satisfaction or happiness.
Exact.
The outline mentions the St. Petersburg paradox. Can we touch on that? It feels related.
It's directly related. This is a famous problem that broke the brains of mathematicians for a long time. So imagine a coin toss game. I flip a coin. If it's heads, the pot doubles. It starts at $2, then $4, $8, $16, and it just keeps going until I flip tails, and then you get whatever's in the pot.
Okay, so there's a small chance it goes on for a long time.
A tiny chance. But mathematically, because there is an infinitesimally small chance you could flip heads 50 times in a row and win more money than exists in the world, the expected value of this game is infinite.
Infinite EV. So, by the logic we just discussed, I should be willing to bet everything I own to play it, right?
Mathematically, yes. You should be willing to pay any finite price for an infinite return. But practically, would you bet your life savings, your house, your car, your kids' college fund for one chance to play this game?
No way.
Yeah.
Not a chance. Because if you flip tails on the very first try, which is a 50% probability, I lose everything. I'm homeless.
Exactly. And this is where utility comes in. The value of money is not linear. It's logarithmic.
What does that mean?
It means that the first $1 million you make is everything. It's food, shelter, safety, dignity. It changes your life from negative to positive. The second million is nice. The 10th million, you barely notice it. So risking your survival money for a shot at luxury money is a terrible trade, even if the pure dollar EV is positive.
This leads us directly to the concept of ergodicity, which is a $5 word. But the concept behind it seems absolutely crucial for anyone managing any kind of risk.
It is arguably the single most important concept in risk management, and almost nobody talks about it. Ergodicity is the difference between the group average and your individual experience over time.
Okay, break that down.
The classic analogy is Russian roulette. Imagine we get 100 people in a room and they all play Russian roulette once with a 6-shooter.
So a 1 in 6 chance of disaster.
Right. About 83 of them will survive, 17 won't. If we look at the group, what we call the ensemble, we'd say, hey, the survival rate is 83%. The game has a positive expected value of survival. An outside observer sees 83% success.
Okay, so that's the group average.
Now, imagine you play Russian roulette 100 times in a row. What is your survival rate?
It's 0. Eventually, I'm going to hit the bullet.
It's 0. With 100% certainty, you will die. In the group scenario, the risk is shared among different people. If one person dies, it doesn't affect the others. But in your life, your time series, the risk is cumulative. You cannot recover from death. This is what we call an absorbing barrier.
An absorbing barrier is a state you can't get out of.
Exactly. Death. A life sentence in prison. Total reputational ruin where you can never work again. Bankruptcy can be an absorbing barrier if you're too old to start over.
So there's a rule here.
The rule of ruin is simple. You should never, ever maximize expected value if the risk involves a non-zero chance of hitting an absorbing barrier. It doesn't matter if the payout is $1 trillion. If there's a 1% chance of ruin, and you play that game repeatedly, you will eventually hit 0.
So to translate that to real life, you can be risky with your career choices, maybe. You could be risky with dating. But don't be risky with things that can take you out of the game completely.
Correct. You have to survive to win. Survival is the absolute prerequisite for success. If you blow up your reputation or your health, the game is over. No amount of potential upside is worth that kind of risk.
Okay, so we have the EV framework we know to avoid ruin. But all of this relies on us being able to assess probabilities accurately. You know, what are the odds of success? And the problem is, as we established at the start, humans are we're bad at this.
We're terrible at it.
We're stubborn. Once we believe something, we don't want to change our minds.
Belief perseverance. It's a hell of a drug. We form an opinion, real estate never goes down, or my coworker's out to get me. And then our brain acts like a filter, only letting in the evidence that supports that belief and ignoring everything that contradicts it.
So how do we fight that? The source material points to a guy named Thomas Bayes.
Reverend Thomas Bayes, an 18th century statistician and, interestingly, a theologian. He gave us a formal mathematical formula for how to update our beliefs in the face of new evidence. It's called Bayesian inference.
I want to walk through the cheating partner example from the notes because I think this is where the rubber really meets the road. It's emotional, it's messy, and it's a scenario where our rational brains usually just short circuit.
It's the perfect test case for exactly that reason.
So set the scene for us. You are in a happy marriage, 10 years. You trust this person completely, never had a single reason to doubt them.
Okay, solid foundation.
Then one night, you see a text pop up on their phone. That's from the number you don't recognize. The text says, "Can't wait to see you," with a winky face.
Boom! Instant adrenaline spike. Your heart drops into your stomach. What is your immediate gut reaction?
My gut reaction, panic. I'm thinking, they're cheating. I'd say my confidence level that they're having an affair jumps to, I don't know, 90%, maybe 95%. That text looks incredibly incriminating.
And that is what's called base rate neglect. You are focusing 100% on the new, scary evidence and completely forgetting everything that came before it. Bayes asks us to slow down and break this down into 3 parts.
Okay.
Part 1 is the prior. What was your belief before you saw the text?
Well, like we said, I trusted them. 10 years of loyalty. I'd say the chance of them cheating was extremely low. Let's call it 1%.
Okay, let's stick with that. Your prior probability of cheating is 1%, which means there's a 99% probability they are not cheating. Now, part 2. The likelihood. We have to evaluate the evidence itself. So, question 1. If they were cheating, what is the probability they would receive a text like, "Can't wait to see you"?
Pretty high, I'd imagine. If you're having an affair, that's exactly the kind of text you might get, let's say.
Yeah.
90%.
Okay, now here's the part that everyone skips in their head. Question 2. If they were not cheating, what is the probability they would receive that text? Could it be an innocent explanation?
I mean, it's possible. It could be a wrong number. A friend being sarcastic. Maybe they're planning a surprise party for me and it's a relative. It's possible, but it feels unlikely. Let's say 5%.
Okay, so now we have our numbers. A prior of 1% cheating, a likelihood of 90% for the text if they're cheating, and 5% if they're not. Now, to make this intuitive, we have to imagine 1,000 parallel universes where this exact scenario plays out.
Okay, walk me through the universes.
In these 1,000 universes, based on your prior, your partner is cheating in 10 of them. That's 1%.
Right.
And they are loyal in the other 990 universes. That's 99%. Now, the text arrives in all 1,000 universes. In the 10 cheating universes, 90% of them get the incriminating text. So that's 9 universes where they cheat, and you see that text.
So wait, 9 instances of actual cheating.
Now let's look at the 990 loyal universes. In 5% of those, they get the text because of a misunderstanding. What's 5% of 990? It's roughly 50. So you have 9 universes with the cheating text and 50 universes with a misunderstanding text.
Wait a second. So there are way, way more universes where the text is just an innocent mistake.
Yes. And that's the key. It's because the initial pool of loyal universes was so much bigger to start with. So the total number of times you see that text across all universes is 9 plus 50, which is 59. Of those 59 times, the number of times they're actually cheating is 9.
So the probability is 9 divided by 59.
Which is roughly 15%.
Although my gut reaction said 95%. The math says it's 15%.
Yeah. 15%. That is the incredible power of the prior. That decade of trust you built up acts as a massive anchor, preventing one piece of ambiguous evidence from capsizing the whole ship.
Wow.
Now, 15% is not nothing. It's a huge jump from 1%. It absolutely warrants a conversation. It warrants you calmly asking, "Hey, who is that text from?" But it does not warrant packing your bags and calling a divorce lawyer.
That is actually kind of comforting. It's a tool to manage your own emotional overreactions.
That's exactly what Bayes does. It prevents you from being whipsawed by every new piece of information. It reminds you. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. If you have a strong prior belief, you need a mountain of evidence to overturn it. One winky face emoji isn't a mountain.
So Bayes helps us update our beliefs. Now let's talk about strategy. How do we design a life that handles all this uncertainty? The outline moves into convexity and the barbell strategy. This feels like Nassim Taleb's territory.
This is pure Taleb. It's all about how you structure your exposure to the world. Most people, by default, try to live in the middle. They want a safe career, moderate investments, a moderate lifestyle.
Seems reasonable.
Taleb argues that the middle is actually the most dangerous place to be. He calls this the turkey problem.
I love this analogy. Explain the turkey problem.
So imagine you're a turkey. You live on a farm. Every single day for 1,000 days, the farmer comes out and feeds you. From your perspective, from your data set, the farmer is your best friend.
Right. Every data point confirms that farmer equals food.
Exactly. Your confidence grows every day. Your life is stable, predictable. The graph of your well-being goes steadily up and to the right. Then, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving arrives.
And the graph goes to zero instantly. Catastrophically.
It's a massive, fatal drop. The turkey was maximizing short-term stability, but was completely exposed to a catastrophic long-term fragility. Being a mid-level corporate employee is often like being the turkey. You get a steady paycheck, steady paycheck, steady paycheck.
Until a recession hits, or AI replaces your job, or the company gets acquired, then zero.
The rug is pulled out from under you.
So if the middle is so dangerous, what's the alternative?
The barbell strategy. You actively avoid the middle, you play at the extremes. On one side of the barbell, you want extreme safety, let's say 85% of your life.
What does that look like?
It means keeping your boring but stable day job, putting most of your money in boring index funds, having long-term reliable friends, things that have a very low chance of going to zero.
Okay, so that's the safe side.
Then, on the other side of the barbell, you want extreme risk, the other 15% of your life. This is where you look for what Taleb calls convexity situations, with limited downside but unlimited upside.
Give me some examples of convex activities.
Starting a side business in your garage, writing a book on the weekends, angel investing with a small amount of money you can afford to lose, going to a random party where you don't know anyone.
How is going to a party a convex bet?
Think about it. What's the downside? You waste a couple of hours and have some bad small talk. Cap downside, what's the upside? You could meet your future spouse, you could meet your future business partner, you could meet someone who changes the entire trajectory of your life. Uncapped upside.
So you have the safety net of the librarian, but the potential upside of the rock star.
Precisely. If the risky 15% fails, you're fine. You have the safe 85% to fall back on. But if one of those risky bets pays off, it changes everything. That is how you engineer luck. You don't wait for it. You create a large surface area for positive accidents to happen to you.
Speaking of finding a future spouse, let's talk about dating, because math apparently has an answer for that too. The secretary problem.
Or, as it's more formally known, the optimal stopping problem. It's a solution to the classic dilemma of, how do I know if I've found the one or if there's someone even better just around the corner?
This is the paralysis of choice. Tinder paralysis. There's always another person to swipe on.
The math suggests a very specific strategy called the 37% rule. So let's say you decide your search window for a long-term partner is from age 18 to age 35. That's a 17-year window.
Okay.
The algorithm says you should spend the first 37% of that time, which is about 6 years. So from age 18 to 24, purely exploring.
Just gathering data.
Right. In this phase, you date different types of people. You learn about yourself. You learn what you value. But, and this is the brutally difficult part, you do not commit to anyone in this phase, even if you think they're amazing. You have to let them go.
That sounds incredibly cold and calculating. What if you meet your soulmate at 22? You're supposed to just break up with them for a mathematical formula.
That's the tragedy of the math. If you commit at 22, you have no baseline for comparison. You have no data to know if they are truly the best you can find or just the best so far. You run a high risk of settling too early, so you let them go. But you remember how good they were. That person becomes your benchmark.
Okay, so I'm 25 now. I finished my 37% exploration phase. I have my benchmark for the best partner I've met so far. Now what?
Now the strategy shifts completely. From that point on, you commit to the very first person you meet who is better than your benchmark.
The very first one. You don't wait to see if there's someone even better after them.
You lock it in immediately, because if you let them go, the odds that you'll find someone even better decrease with every passing year. This strategy mathematically maximizes your odds of ending up with the single best person in your entire dating pool. It's the perfect balance between the risk of stopping too early and the risk of stopping too late when all the good ones are taken.
It's completely unromantic, but I can see the logic. It's a way to stop the endless browsing. Let's shift to another big life decision. Opening a business. We all have that friend who wants to open a restaurant.
Or a coffee shop. Or a bespoke artisanal pickle shop.
Right. And they always justify it by saying, but I make great food, my friends love my cooking, and I'll work harder than anyone else.
This is what's known as the inside view. They're looking only at their own specific attributes and skills. But to be a probabilistic thinker, you have to start with the outside view. You have to start with the base rate.
Which is what?
It's the answer to the question, what is the failure rate of all new restaurants in their first year?
And it's shockingly high. Something like 60%, right?
Right. So before you even open your doors, before you even cook a single dish, your prior probability of success is only 40%. Now, does working hard change that? No. I guarantee you most of the people who failed also worked incredibly hard. That's not a differentiator.
What about having good food?
It helps, but it's not enough. Plenty of places with amazing food fail because of bad location, bad service, or bad financial management. To bet against a tough base rate, you need a powerful structural advantage.
And what would count as a structural advantage?
I own the building, so I pay no rent. That's a huge advantage. My spouse is a marketing genius who will work for free. That's an advantage. I already have an email list of 10,000 people from my food blog who have pre-ordered my cookbook. That's a massive advantage. If you don't have something that distinct, you are just the average. And in the restaurant business, the average is bankruptcy.
That's harsh, but it's a good way to save your life savings. I want to jump to section 4, which is about managing risk. And there's this story about the WWII planes that I've heard before, but every time I hear it, it just blows my mind, the Abraham Wald story.
It is the single best, most definitive example of survivorship bias ever.
Well, set it up for us.
It's World War II. The Allied Air Force is losing a huge number of their bombers on missions over Germany. They want to add armor to the planes, but armor is heavy, it uses more fuel, it reduces the range. You can't just cover the whole plane in it, you have to be strategic.
So they decide to gather some data.
Exactly. They look at the planes that come back from the missions, they analyze all the damage, they create a diagram of the plane and mark where all the bullet holes are, and they find that the holes aren't random. They're heavily concentrated on the wings, the tail, and the main fuselage.
Okay. So the intuitive reaction, the one that I would have, is put more armor on the wings and the tail. That's clearly where they're getting hit the most.
That's what all the generals said. It's obvious, patch the holes. But Abraham Wald, a statistician from a group at Columbia University, said, no, you are making a fatal, catastrophic mistake. You need to put the armor where the bullet holes aren't.
You need to put it on the engines and the cockpit.
Exactly. And the generals look at him like he's crazy. But the engines don't have any holes. And Wald's genius was in saying, precisely, why don't they have any holes?
Because the planes that got hit in the engines
Didn't come back. The planes with holes in the wings survived to return to base. So the bullet holes in the wings showed where a plane could take a hit and still survive. The untouched areas on the survivors, the engines, and the cockpit were the truly fatal spots.
We were looking at the survivors and completely ignoring the data from the graveyard.
And we do this constantly in modern life. We look at college dropouts like Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, and the narrative becomes, hey, dropping out of college leads to success. Look at these billionaires. You don't need a degree.
We don't see the graveyard. We don't see the millions of other college dropouts who are struggling to pay rent or working minimum wage jobs.
Exactly. We're analyzing a data set that has been pre-filtered for success. So whenever you read a Secret of Success book or a Habits of Highly Effective People list, you have to ask the critical question. Did the people who failed also do these things?
Right.
If successful people wake up at 4 a.m., but millions of failed people also wake up at 4 a.m., then waking up early isn't the cause of success. It's just a common trait that might be completely irrelevant. You have to look for the invisible evidence.
Okay, let's talk about betting. Not just casino betting, but how you size your risks in life. The Kelly criterion.
This is all about answering the question, how much? Let's say you found a great investment opportunity. You've calculated the EV, and it's definitely positive. You have an edge. The question is, how much of your money do you put into it?
Well, not 100%. Because even if I have an edge, I could still lose on this one occasion. And if I lose 100%, I'm out of the game. That's the rule of ruin again.
Right. You can't bet everything. But if you bet too little, say $1, you don't make any meaningful money. The Kelly criterion is a formula that gives you the exact optimal percentage of your bankroll to bet to maximize your long-term growth rate without going broke. For a typical good bet, it might tell you to bet, say, 20% of your net worth.
20% still feels pretty aggressive to me.
It is, and that's why in the real world, almost all professional investors use what's called half Kelly. The pure Kelly formula assumes you know the odds and your edge perfectly. But in real life, we don't. We usually overestimate how smart we are. So you calculate the optimal Kelly bet, and then you just cut it in half.
And what does that do?
It reduces your volatility drastically, you sleep much better at night, but you still capture about 75% of the long-term growth. It's a fantastic trade-off. It's the humble, aggressive strategy.
I like that. One more concept on risk. Regression to the mean, or as I always think of it, the sophomore slump.
We see this everywhere. In sports, in movies, in business. A CEO has a record-breaking year. The company's profits are through the roof. They're put on the cover of Forbes. They're hailed as a genius. The next year, the company performs. Just okay. Average.
And the immediate narrative is they lost their touch, they got lazy, they're a one-hit wonder.
But you're saying it's just math. It's statistical gravity. Think about what it takes to have a record-breaking year. To be in the 99th percentile of performance, you usually need two things: great skill and great luck, both happening at the same time.
All right.
Skill tends to persist. If you're a good CEO, you generally stay a good CEO. But luck is random. It doesn't persist. A huge lucky break one year doesn't mean you'll get one the next. So the next year, the CEO still has all their skill, but their luck returns to average. So their performance drops from record-breaking back down to just good.
It's not a failure, it's just the luck evaporating.
Exactly. So if you're a manager, the lesson is don't over-bonus someone just because they had one lucky spike. And don't fire them just because their performance regressed back to their normal solid average. You have to look at the long-term trend, not the short-term noise.
All right, Section 5. We're shifting gears a little bit. Everything we've discussed so far is about playing against nature. The market, the weather, the odds of a startup succeeding. But what about when we're playing against people?
It's a whole different ballgame. This is game theory. When you're playing against nature, nature doesn't care what you do. The roulette wheel isn't going to change its strategy because you keep betting on red. But when you're playing against a person, a competitor, a negotiator, even a date, they are adjusting. They are watching you and thinking.
I know that you know that I know.
Exactly. It's a recursive loop. And in that kind of competitive game, your single greatest weakness is predictability. If I know you always bluff when you scratch your nose, I will destroy you at poker. If I know you will always settle for a 5% raise, I will never offer you more than that. To be unexploitable, you need a mixed strategy. You need to be, in some way, mathematically random.
The outline mentions the IRS as being a master of this.
It's a classic example. The IRS cannot afford to audit everyone. It's way too expensive. But if they audit 0% of people, everyone will cheat on their taxes.
Right.
And if they were to audit 100% of people, the IRS would go bankrupt from the administrative costs. So they have to find a balance. They audit a small, seemingly random percentage of the population, but they weight it with certain red flags. The uncertainty is what keeps most of us honest. You don't know if you'll be the one audited, so you have to act as if you will be.
It's the panopticon effect. But how does this apply to me negotiating a salary or trying to close a business deal?
It means that sometimes you have to do the irrational thing. If you are always perfectly rational and predictable, you're easy to exploit. If someone gives you a lowball offer and you rationally calculate, well, $50 is better than $0, so I'll take it, you will quickly become a doormat.
Okay.
Sometimes you have to be willing to flip the table, you have to walk away from the deal, you have to get angry. Even if it costs you money in that one specific deal, it establishes a reputation for all future negotiations. Don't mess with him, he's a little crazy. That reputation of strategic irrationality increases your expected value in the long run.
Strategic irrationality. I love that. Now, we absolutely have to talk about the Monty Hall problem. I feel like this is a rite of passage for anyone trying to understand probability.
It is the problem that proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that our brains are just not built for this stuff.
So set it up.
You're on a game show. There are 3 doors. Behind one door is a brand new car. Behind the other 2 are goats.
Okay, car and 2 goats.
You pick a door. Let's say you pick door #1. Now, the host, Monty Hall, who knows where the car is, opens one of the other doors, say door #3, to reveal a goat. He then looks at you and says, you picked door #1, door #3 has a goat. Do you want to switch your choice to door #2?
Okay, so the standard human my reaction is, why would I switch? There are 2 doors left. The car's behind one of them. It's a 50-50 shot. Staying or switching makes no difference.
And that feels so right. It feels so obviously true, but it's 100% wrong. You must switch. Switching doubles your probability of winning the car.
Explain this to me. My brain just refuses to accept it.
Let's think back to the very beginning. When you first picked door #1, what was the chance you picked the car?
1 in 3.
Right, 33%. So what was the chance the car was behind one of the other doors, meaning door 2 or door 3?
2 in 3. 66%.
Exactly. The group of other doors has a 66% chance of holding the car. Now, Monty Hall does something very specific. He gives you new information, he opens one of those other doors and shows you a goat. He effectively eliminates the bad option from that group, but the probability of that entire group holding the car hasn't changed. It's still 66%. Now, all of that 66% probability has collapsed onto the one remaining door in that group.
Which is door hashtag 2.
So door hashtag 1, your original pick, still has its original 33% chance. But door hashtag 2 now holds the entire 66% chance of the other doors group.
So Monty is basically using his inside knowledge to filter the other group for you.
That's a perfect way to put it. If you stay with your original door, you only win if you happen to guess right the first time, which is a 13 chance. If you switch, you win if you happen to guess wrong the first time, which is a 23 chance. Since you're much more likely to have guessed wrong initially, you should always switch.
That is painful to finally understand, but I think I see it now. It's all about updating your priors when new, non-random information enters the system. Speaking of counterintuitive math, let's talk about Simpson's paradox. The outline calls this the aggregation lie.
This is a critical warning for anyone who reads the news or looks at a business dashboard. Simpson's paradox is what happens when a trend appears in different groups of data, but disappears or reverses when you combine all the groups together.
The famous example is the UC Berkeley gender bias case from the 70s.
Right. In 1973, UC Berkeley got sued for gender discrimination. The top line, aggregate data, was damning. It showed that they admitted 44% of their male applicants, but only 35% of their female applicants.
It looks like a slam dunk case of sexism. The aggregate numbers don't lie.
But they do, or at least they hide the truth. When the statisticians on the case broke the data down by individual department, engineering, English, law, and so on, they found something absolutely shocking.
Oh, was it?
In almost every single individual department, women had a higher acceptance rate than men.
Wait, how is that possible? How can women win in almost every department but lose in the total? That makes no mathematical sense.
It's all about where they were applying. It was a hidden variable. The men were overwhelmingly applying to easy departments with high acceptance rates like engineering. The women, for various societal reasons at the time, were overwhelmingly applying to hard departments with very low acceptance rates, like English and psychology.
So the women were playing a much harder game.
Exactly. So even though they were outperforming the men within those difficult games, their overall aggregated success rate looked lower because so many of them were applying to the toughest departments. The difficulty of the department was the hidden variable that flipped the conclusion.
So the lesson is, never trust the total line on a spreadsheet. You have to disaggregate the data.
Always look for the hidden variable. The other classic example is the better surgeon. You have two surgeons. Surgeon A has a 95% survival rate. Surgeon B has an 85% survival rate. Who do you want operating on you?
Surgeon A. It's a no-brainer.
Unless Surgeon A gets that 95% rate by only operating on healthy young people with minor issues. And Surgeon B is the world-renowned expert who takes all the hopeless cases, the complex trauma wounds, the emergency bypasses on 90-year-olds. Surgeon B might actually be the more skilled doctor, but their base rate of patient difficulty drags their overall stats down.
Context is everything. Okay, let's move to section 6. Systemic complexity. We're talking about power laws. We mentioned the bell curve earlier, things like height, weight. Most people are clustered around the average. But you're saying the world of money, success, and influence doesn't follow a bell curve.
Not at all. It follows a power law, or what's sometimes called a Pareto distribution. In a bell curve world, the average is meaningful. If I take the average height of 100 people, it tells me something real about that group. In a power law world, the average is a complete lie.
What do you mean?
The classic example, imagine Bill Gates walks into a dive bar. There are 10 regular guys in the bar, each earning, say, $30,000 a year.
Okay, so the average income is $30,000.
Then Bill walks in. Suddenly, the average income of the people in that bar is over $100 million. Does that new average in any way represent the reality of the original 10 patrons?
No, not at all.
The outlier Bill Gates completely distorts the entire system. In power law worlds, which include wealth, social media followers, book sales, startup returns, the top 1% captures 99% of the value.
And this connects to the famous 80-20 rule, right?
It's the 80-20 rule on steroids. It's often more like 911. 1% of the code in your software causes 99% of the bugs. 1% of your customers cause 99% of your customer service headaches.
So what's the strategy in a world like that?
It's twofold. Ruthless culling and focus hunting. First, you have to be ruthless about calling the bottom. You have to fire the bottom 20% of your clients, the ones who drain your energy and time but pay you next to nothing. They have a negative expected value. And second, you have to hunt for the fat tails. You have to find that one investment, that one project, that one relationship that pays for 1,000 failures.
So it's about making a lot of small bets.
Exactly. Picasso created something like 50,000 works of art in his lifetime. We only know maybe 100 of them. He needed the sheer volume to find the few masterpieces that would define his legacy, the fat tails.
I want to talk about Little's Law because this one hits me personally. I am obsessed with productivity. I try to fill every single minute of my calendar. I aim for 100% utilization. The outline says this is a mathematical disaster. Why?
Imagine a highway. When the highway is at 50% capacity, traffic flows smoothly at 65 mph. When it's at 85% capacity, it slows down a bit, maybe to 50 mph. But what happens when the highway is at 99% or 100% capacity?
It becomes a parking lot, complete gridlock, stop and go.
Exactly. And the crucial insight from queuing theory, specifically from what's called Kingman's formula, is that the slowdown isn't linear. The difference between 90% full and 100% full isn't a 10% full. It's an exponential collapse into gridlock. As utilization approaches 100%, wait time approaches infinity.
So by booking my calendar back-to-back with no breaks, I'm creating a traffic jam in my own life.
Yes, because you are operating with an assumption of zero variance. You assume every meeting will start and end exactly on time. You assume you won't get a headache. You assume no urgent, unexpected emails will come in. But reality is full of variance. A meeting runs 5 minutes over. A file takes 10 minutes to download. If you have 0% slack in your system, that one 5-minute delay creates a cascade failure. The $10 meeting pushes to 10.30, which pushes to the 11.00. By noon, you're drowning in a backlog you can't escape.
So the solution is to do less, to be lazy.
The solution is to plan for 85% utilization, maximum. You must intentionally leave 15% of your day completely empty. White space, that isn't lazy, that is a buffer. It's a shock absorber for the system. Saying no to a meeting isn't just a personal preference. It is a necessary flow control mechanism to keep your entire life from crashing.
That is going to be my new excuse. I'm not saying no because I don't want to meet. I'm maintaining system flow control.
It's a much better reason.
Okay, one last systemic trap, the winner's curse. This happens in auctions, right? Auctions, bidding wars for houses, corporate acquisitions, any competitive bidding situation. Think about it. You're bidding on a house. 5 other people are also bidding. The price goes up and up. Finally, you win. You pay $1 million. What does the fact that you won imply?
It implies I was willing to pay more than anyone else at the table.
And it implies that you valued the house more than anyone else did. Statistically speaking, the winner of an auction is usually the person who most overestimated the true value of the item. So the very act of winning often means you've already lost. You won the house, but you immediately lost equity because you overpaid for it.
So how do you avoid the winner's curse?
You have to shade your bid. You calculate what you think the house is truly worth, and then you intentionally bid less than that. You have to build in a buffer to account for the fact that if you win, you are likely the most optimistic and therefore likely wrong person in the room. Or you have to recognize that in a heated bidding war, sometimes the only winning move is not to play. Let someone else take the hit.
Section 7. We are in the home stretch now. We've got a few advanced mental models to wrap this up. Let's talk about the Lindy effect. This is about the durability of books and ideas.
The Lindy effect basically says that for non-perishable things like ideas, technologies, books, the longer something has already survived, the longer it is likely to continue to survive in the future. Life expectancy increases with age.
That's the opposite of humans.
It's the complete opposite. If a human is 90 years old, their remaining life expectancy is short. But if a book has been in print for 90 years, like The Great Gatsby, it is likely to be in print for another 90 years. It has proven its fitness.
It has stood the test of time.
Exactly. Time is the ultimate filter. It ruthlessly kills off the bad ideas, the fragile ideas, the fads, the fake news. So if you want to really understand the world, the Lindy effect suggests you should stop reading the New York Times bestseller list from this week. Most of those books will be totally forgotten in 5 years. Instead, read the books that have been around for 50, 100, or 2,000 years. They contain Lindy truth.
Read old books. Got it. Next. The quit decision. It's so common for people to stay in bad jobs or bad relationships because of the sunk cost fallacy. But I've already put in 3 years at this company.
That is looking backward. Probability and good decision-making only look forward. You need to employ what's called zero-based thinking. You have to ask yourself the question, If I were not in this job today, if I was unemployed and looking, would I apply for this exact job knowing everything I now know about it?
And if the answer is no,
Then you must quit immediately. The 3 years you spent are gone. They are sunk. You can't get them back. Staying in a negative EV situation just to justify the past is a form of slow suicide. Winners quit fast. They understand that quitting frees up their time and resources to search for a new, better opportunity for the next fat tail.
okay, via negativa, improvement by subtraction.
This is a powerful one. We have a deep-seated bias to add things to solve problems. I'm tired, add coffee. I'm disorganized, add a new productivity app. The economy is slow, add a new government regulation. But complex systems often respond much better to subtraction.
So,
I'm tired. Remove the screens an hour before bed. I'm disorganized. Remove the unnecessary meetings from my calendar. My diet is bad. Remove sugar. Removal reduces complexity and the chance of unintended side effects or iatrogenics. Addition almost always increases them.
finally, the value of information, or VOI. We are drowning in data. When is it actually worth paying for more information?
The soil test example from the source explains this perfectly. You are thinking of buying a plot of land for $1 million. If the soil is good, you can build condos on it and make $5 million. If the soil turns out to be toxic, you lose your entire $1 million. Let's say it's a 50-50 shot. Should you pay $50,000 for a soil test?
Intuitively, yes, of course. I want to know what I'm getting into.
But here's the catch. Information only has value if it has the potential to change your decision. If you're a reckless gambler and you're going to buy the land regardless of what the test says, then the test is worthless. You just wasted $50,000. But if a bad test result would make you walk away and save you from that $1 million loss, then that $50,000 test is incredibly valuable.
So before you do more research, you should always ask, is there any possible answer to this question that would change what I'm about to do?
Exactly. If the answer is no, don't bother gathering the data, just act.
That is a powerful filter for life. Expert speaker, we have covered a massive amount of ground today.
We certainly have.
Resulting bias, expected value, the startup math, Bayes and the cheating partner, the barbell strategy, the 37% dating rule, survivorship bias, game theory, Monty Hall. If we had to synthesize all of this into a probability operating system, what are the core pillars?
I would boil it down to 4 main directives. First, detach identity from beliefs. Your beliefs are just bets. They are hypotheses about the world. When the data changes, like in the Bayes example, you update the bet. Don't take it personally. You are not your ideas.
Number 2,
Second, process over outcome. You can control the quality of your decision. You cannot control the random result. So judge yourself and others on the process. Don't praise the drunk driver for his survival. Praise the sober driver for their discipline, even if they got unlucky.
Number 3,
Third, respect variance. You have to survive the short term, survive the dip, survive the bad luck, to let your skill and good process dominate in the long term. This means leaving slack in your schedule. It means armoring the engines.
and the last one?
And fourth, most importantly, avoid ruin. Never, ever bet the farm. No amount of potential upside is worth a non-trivial risk of hitting an absorbing barrier and being taken out of the game for good.
And I want to end with a final provocative thought from the notes about the Lucretius problem.
It's a haunting idea. Lucretius was a Roman poet and philosopher, and he said, in essence, a fool believes that the tallest mountain he has ever seen is the tallest mountain that exists in the world.
So we look at history, the biggest stock market crash, the biggest flood, the biggest pandemic, and we build our defenses to withstand that specific event.
But nature doesn't care about our history books. The worst event, the true black swan, is always the one that has never happened before.
So don't build your systems for the historic high watermark. Build them for the historic high plus a massive safety factor. Be convex. Be anti-fragile.
And always remember, you are a probabilistic engine living in a stochastic universe. You can't guarantee success. You can only tilt the odds in your favor.
Tilt the odds. I love that. Expert speaker, thank you for this upgrade to our mental operating system.
My pleasure. It was a lot of fun.
And thank you for listening to The Deep Dive. Go out there, do the math, and play some smart bets. We'll see you next time.